Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today I want to do a quick video on my experience with TPU tubes. So if you were thinking about switching over to TPU tubes versus your butyl tubes, I'll give you my experience over the last about 5 to 6 months that I've been running them. So it hasn't been all bad. So I got a flat early on in the season with my butyl tubes, and I didn't have many left, so I decided I would try the TPU tubes. So I jumped on Amazon and I noticed the brand name ones like Pirelli or Tipolito, you're looking at $30 a tube. So I was like, that's too much. But they did have some of the off-brand ones. They had the Ride Now, which are the pink ones on available. And then they also had these green ones here by that company there. And they had those available. And those were running about $15 a piece. So I decided to give them a try. And I started out with the pink ones. And the pink ones had, the only option I was able to get in a road bike style tube was ones with an 80 millimeter stem. So these stick way out, but that's fine. So I ordered up a couple of these and they mounted in just fine. Now there's several reviews out there about these tubes. And there's several things that come up about them, so size, weight, how they roll, rolling resistance, right? So they're supposed to be faster, things of that nature, so come into place. We'll talk a little bit about all that. So anyhow, I popped these tubes into my bike, and just to be clear, this bike right here, I also put on new tires this year. So I'm currently running Hutchinson Fusion tires. Reason being is because they're cheap. They're only $25 a piece. I have been running, generally I've always run Continental 5000s or 4000s before that. The price of those has gotten to be about $60 a piece, $50 to $60 a piece. It's a lot of money, so I decided to try these tires out. They come highly reviewed. Biggest problem is that they're supposed to be 25 millimeter. They are not. They only measure 24 millimeter. They're both narrower and shorter in height versus the Continental 5000 S tires. So that plays into the story a little bit. Anyhow, I went in and I popped in these pink tubes right here. They install pretty easily. No big deal with the installation. I inflated them up to, I run 90 PSI, and I headed out on the road. The very first thing I noticed is that these tubes ride rougher. It's not a deal breaker, but you can feel more vibration through the bike than you can with butyl tubes. And it makes sense if you think about it. A rubber tube has more flexibility to it. It's thicker, it's spongier versus a plastic tube. When you inflate this plastic tube, the tension gets higher and higher on the surface. It does not have that same flexibility. Again, it's not a deal breaker. After a couple of rides, you don't even notice it anymore, but it stands out when you first get on it. And think about it, in a good relationship, if you're a car person, is that imagine replacing all your rubber bushings in your suspension with urethane bushings. Same sort of thing. Is it a deal breaker? No, but the car might ride a little harsher than it did with the rubber bushings. Same sort of effect here. So now, I rode these for probably a couple 100 miles before I suddenly got two pinch flats. Same time, same day, same spot, two pinch flats front and rear. Now, I'd already ordered these green ones here because they have a 60 millimeter stem on them, which, by the way, when measured, it actually only measures 57 millimeter. And you can see here that I have a very, very short stem sticking out of here, but it works. I can get a pump on it. It's fine. So I'd already ordered the green ones. I had them on hand when I got a double pinch flat on the pink ones. So I went ahead and I put the green ones in, fired those up, and away we went, and we were fine. So I'll talk a little bit about patching these. So these tubes actually came with a patch kit. These are glueless patches right here. They are absolutely useless. You might as well just throw them right in the trash. So they come in, they have an alcohol wipe in there, and then they come with self-adhesive little patches in the box. And you know what? They might get you home. I can't honestly say if they would or wouldn't because I didn't test them out. You can see they're paper backed, and then you can go ahead and just peel one off and stick it on there. What I did is I went ahead and I put these patches onto the tubes. I inflated the tubes to around, 10 PSI. I let them just hang in my basement. And within anywhere from 5 to 10 hours, they both went flat. So I went ahead and I pulled one off and I tried it again and tried to get it as clean and sealed as possible. Again, within 10 hours, they were flat again. So You might get home from a ride, like I say, with a glueless tube or a patch, but I wouldn't trust them in the long haul. So in the meantime, I ended up ordering a smart tube patch kit from Pirelli. So this box came, I can't remember how much this was, but on Amazon it was somewhere around $15, maybe a little bit less. And it came with glue. Now this glue, it doesn't quite smell or act like rubber cement. I don't think it's the same thing, right? Because it has to glue plastic surfaces together versus rubber surfaces. So I'm sure the emulsion is a bit different. So the chemical makeup's a bit different. But it's a different sort of glue. The patches themselves are actually just cut up pieces of tube. And on some of them, you can actually see the writing, like here's part of a Pirelli emblem right there. So you can actually see the writing on them. They're just cut up pieces of tube for patches. Now I did glue those. I did grab one and I glued it on, and they held up pretty well. So I glued both of the pink ones that had a snake bite on them. I left them out overnight. They didn't lose air, so appreciable air. So I went ahead and I packed those up as spares. Now I will tell you a little bit about that air pressure thing. It took me a while to figure this out. These tubes, at least these two brands that I have, do not hold air pressure very well. They lose, I would say, around 6 PSI a day. How do I know that? So I started checking the tire pressure every day, and currently, and I'll finish this story in a second, I have a rubber tube back here, and I have a TPU tube up here. So I've been checking them daily. The rubber tube loses around 4 to 5 PSI every day. The TPU tube loses around 5 to 6 PSI every day. So you have to pay attention to that, and I'm sure that's why I got those snake bites. It doesn't feel much different when you're riding on the road, but they did not hold up under what I had hit. So this green one here, which was in the back, I was doing a 100-mile ride. I was maybe 15 miles in, and I see a little rock on the ground as I'm riding along, and of course I hit it. You know what they say, if you see it, you'll run right into it. So I hit the rock. I pinch flat this green tube, and that's why I've got this rubber tube in the back now. So I didn't have any more of these TPU tubes, so I threw the rubber tube in the back. And this green tube got a snake bite in it. Now I was going to patch this up, but what actually happened, and this is my fault, they tell you in the instructions to put air in these before you put them in your tire. So I was on the side of the road. I did not do that. I just put it in like I would any other tube, and I inflated it. But what happened is that this tube twisted. So it was twisted in two spots. It was twisted here, and then it was twisted in another spot down the tube a ways. And what happened with that is that actually you can see there like there's little puckers in the plastic tube itself. It's almost translucent, and I don't think you'll be able to see this on camera, but some of these bubbles that are in here are very translucent, so you can tell that they were bubbled out. Like right here is one of them right here. I'm not going to use this tube again. Now, some of the other things that were mentioned about these tubes in some of the other reviews, one was that they hold air better. No, they absolutely do not. They're actually a little bit worse. And again, I'm just testing the Ride Now and the whatever this one is. It's like Lamy. So I did not test the Topolito. I did not test the Pirelli. Maybe those are better. These do not hold air better than a rubber tube. They're actually worse. One of the things that was also mentioned is they're better at puncture resistance. I can't say that they are or aren't. Because I changed tires up, and I would say that I've had more flats this year than years prior. That could be because of the tires that I changed, or it could be because of the tubes, or a combination of both. I don't know. Jury's still out on that, but I would not say that they are appreciably holding up any better than a rubber tube would. Another thing that comes along is they say that these tubes roll faster. There's no way for me to tell you that. There's no way for anyone to tell you that unless you're doing some pretty tight scientific studies, right? So bicyclerollingresistance.com, if you go check out their website, they actually do test these tubes, and they do in fact roll faster. There is no way, though, you're going to be able to feel that by the seat of your pants. It's such a marginal gain that it's not going to happen. I've looked at several reviews on these types of tubes before I bought them, and there are some guys out there who say that they can feel that they roll faster. No, you can't. There's just no way. It's a marginal gain. And at the top level riders, they're not riding these TPU tubes anyway. So I would not buy them for the fact that you think that they may roll faster, because you're not going to notice that. Just to give you an example of that, my club has a time trial that they run every Tuesday. It's a 10-mile flat time trial. I've been doing it for years. I've been on TPU tubes this entire year. My times are really no faster than they are any other year. If you want to increase your times and your speed, I could just stand to lose 5 pounds. I could start lifting weights for my legs and doing squats and stuff like that, neither of which I do. So therefore, those would probably give me better gains than putting in TPU tubes. So overall, I'll just summarize by that if you can find them at the right price, I think they're worth buying. I went ahead and I'll tell you the reason why I think that. And I did find them. I went to Aliexpress. I found a 5-pack of them for around $50, shipping included and everything. So they came with taxes a little over $5 a tube. To me, that's worth it. And what's worth it the most, the biggest savings right there for me, is the fact that they are much smaller. I can get multiple tubes in the space of this one tube, right? So I can have 2, if not 3 tubes in my bag for longer rides, or if a friend needs a tube or whatever, without gaining any more weight, and have that much security and functionality out of it. So for me, the biggest thing is that they're small and compact, and they are lighter weight. Whether I'm really seeing any real difference with that or not, they do. They obviously are going to make your rotational weight less when you're in your tires. So there is some advantage there, but it's nothing that I could quantify or tell you that you're actually going to see or feel. But you will as far as the actual weight of the tube goes and storage of those tubes. So I am going to stick with these for a while and see how it goes. But if you're not, if you're spending double the price of a rubber tube, in my opinion, they're not really worth it. If you buy them off AliExpress and you're paying $5 a tube or whatever, then I think they're worth it. They're certainly worth the space savings. And I've ordered up one for my mountain bike, and I've ordered up one for my cyclocross bike. Those are both set up tubeless, but there's times, and you guys have all been there, I'm sure, where tubeless, it just won't seal and you can't get it to seal and you need a tube. So they're small, they're light, so I can easily just put one in a bag and be able to throw a tube in as needed. Now, I know some of you are probably saying, well, why don't you just switch this over to tubeless? Not a big fan of that on the road bike. High pressure, it's just more mess and headache than it's worth. I can change out a dry tube on the side of the road in 5-6 minutes. So to me, it's not worth it. I'm just an average cyclist. I'm not out there racing at the highest level, looking for that, that small, minuscule bit of advantage. So that's my story on TPU tubes. I think they're worth a try for sure if you can get them at the right price. But if you're spending a ton of money on them, I don't necessarily think that they're worth it in any way, size, shape, or form. Anyhow, thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, drop it below. Or if you have experience with TPU tubes and you want to share with anyone who may watch this video, please feel free to comment below. Have a great one.